Hello, I'm Alyssa, and today I'm sharing with you my October 2018 favorites. If you're new to my channel and don't know what my favorites are, that's where I list all the books, movies, TV shows, and video games I've enjoyed over the past month. And this one's special because, this one's gonna be maybe a tipsy edition because I'm drinking wine. I just got out of a movie that I thoroughly hated, which if you follow me on Letterboxd, the link is down below in the description box, you might be able to parse out which one that was. First sip of wine down, let's get started. This should be fun. The first thing I loved was just the books, which by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, the wine's already kicking in. Timestamps will be down below in case you want to skip between different sections. But first up is the books. Wine. One sip and I'm already, woo! The only book that I read this month, to be honest, was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I adored this book. I loved Riley Sager's previous novel, Final Girls, and this follows a woman named Emma who 15 years ago suffered a traumatic incident where she went to Camp Nightingale and her 3 cabin mates all disappeared. So in the current day, she's invited back to the newly reopened camp by the camp's founder to teach painting classes, but when she gets there, she gets way more than she bargained for. This is a very evocative book. I felt like I was there at the camp. It's an amazing mystery thriller. It kept me guessing. I didn't guess what the ending would be, which I usually do with stuff like this, so that's a plus. It's just a wonderful mystery thriller novel, especially if you're craving one at the moment. Definitely pick up The Last Time I Lied. More wine time. Now let's move on to the movies I love this month. First up is In the Fade. This is Diane Kruger's first German language film she has ever starred in, and does she do an amazing job. She portrays a woman whose husband and son have been killed in a terrorist attack, and she has to deal with the fallout from that. And she also has to struggle with, obviously, going through her mourning phase. And she is just so raw and vulnerable, yet powerful at the same time in this role. It is a very hard film to watch because of the subject matter, but it's a very important film. And Diane Kruger definitely deserved her Best Actress award she got at the Cannes or Venice Film Festival for this. I can't remember which. But this is a phenomenal film, just be warned that it is a little hard to stomach. The next movie is A Star is Born, the 2018 version starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. This was amazing. It really touched me. I was bawling like a baby. I loved all of the musical parts of the film, which this is not a musical, but every time they sang a song, I just loved it. I loved the chemistry between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I thought Bradley Cooper did an amazing job directing this film, starring in it. His singing voice is just amazing. And Lady Gaga was a natural in her role as the waitress who suddenly becomes an overnight sensation. I freaking adored this movie. I want the soundtrack so bad, and I will definitely watch it again. The next movie up, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce the title, but that is Record. Is the classic Spanish language horror film, which is a found footage style film. I can't speak anymore. But this was terrifying. I watched this when I was home alone and I was paranoid that someone was breaking in my house the entire time. I thought I heard noises. I thought I heard someone go, "Oh boo," while I was watching, which freaked me the frick out. This was terrifying and it holds up today. It's just such a compelling mystery wrapped inside a very, very well done horror film. It keeps the tension up as it goes along and you just want to know what's happening while at the same time wanting to dive under covers or dive underneath a chair or something because you're terrified. The other movie I really loved this month that just recently came out in theaters was First Man. I loved how they told the story of Neil Armstrong and they showed the sides of him that a lot of people didn't know about. They showed how he was with his wife Janet, who is played magnificently by Claire Foy. They showed personal tragedies that happened at their home. They showed him preparing for the Gemini and the Apollo launches. Ryan Gosling was just amazing as Neil Armstrong. Damien Chazelle really knows how to direct. The space sequences were outstanding, and when they were in the spaceships, it felt very authentic and claustrophobic. And I think this is a very well done biopic that a lot of people haven't watched. I will say, if you're not into science or space, this might not interest you as much because it's very heavy on those topics. But I think it's really well done and something that more people should check out. Next up is a documentary, and that is Three Identical Strangers. This is obviously based on a true story and chronicles three men who were separated at birth and adopted by different families, but they are triplets, and it shows how they became famous because of this, but it also shows some tragedies that happened after they found each other, and it's such a compelling documentary. It's genuinely nerve-wracking at points. It's a surprising documentary. You don't expect what happens to happen, and it's very well done. I did feel like it went on a little too long for its own good, but otherwise this is an excellent documentary that you should definitely watch. Let's get some more wine so I mess up some more. Because who wants a picture-perfect video nowadays? I mean, it's kind of pointless. Just have fun with videos now, you know? A movie that utterly charmed me was Ruby Sparks. This stars Paul Dano and Zoe Kazan, which, fun fact, this movie is where they met and fell in love, and they are still together to this day. But it follows a writer who is suffering writer's block, so he starts writing about the woman of his dreams. Literally, she appears in his dreams. And one day, she just is manifested into the real world, and he realizes that what he writes dictates what she does, how she acts, what she says, etc. It's a really interesting take on the romantic comedy, dramedy kind of formula. Again, Paul Dano and Zoe Kazan have wonderful chemistry, and I just adore this film. It's very warm and funny, but also heartbreaking at the same time. It really makes you think about love and yourself, and the perfect person that is often portrayed in the media, or who we think about when we're younger, like, oh, this person is going to be who I want to marry later in life, and how you have to come to accept that the person that you love is their own individual person. And I thought that was just a really interesting character study that's hidden beneath a rom-com dramedy formula. So Ruby Sparks, definitely worth watching. By the way, Ruby Sparks was also directed by the same directors of Little Miss Sunshine and Battle of the Sexes, so you know it has to be good. I finally watched The Dark Knight Rises, and I loved it. Not as much as The Dark Knight, but I think it was about on the same par as Batman Begins. I loved Bane. Tom Hardy was so great. I loved Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. And I just like seeing the conclusion of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. It was dark, it was gritty, it had some really shocking moments, some really badass moments. And it was just memorable, and I just enjoyed it. I also really loved the 2018 Halloween. I know this gets mixed reviews, but I thought it was a really refreshing take on the Halloween franchise. I like that it's a direct sequel to the original film. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis is super badass. She is what makes this movie so good. But Michael Myers is also such a threatening presence, and he sends chills down your spine every time you see him, and every time you see a brutal act that he does. It's just amazing. I think David Gordon Green was a wonderful choice as director. I was surprised at how well scripted this movie was. I loved, obviously, the kills in the movie, and I cannot wait for a sequel, because this is obviously going to get a sequel. Now, the next film I'm going to talk about is one of Steven Spielberg's least talked about movies, and that is a crying shame, but that is AI, Artificial Intelligence. This movie is so beautiful, so heartbreaking, so realistic in a very futuristic way, but it's about this young boy who is actually a robot, and he is adopted by a family that have not lost their son, but their son is in critical condition. They don't think he's going to make it, so they adopt a robot son to take his place. But then something happens, and the robot son is sent out into the woods alone to find other robots. And it's just such a heartbreaking film, but it's also very warm. It's about finding yourself, finding your tribe of people. And it was so good. The effects still hold up today. Haley Joel Osment was, again, heartbreakingly adorable. Jude Law was great as a gigolo. And there were obviously some very famous voices voicing some AI, including Robin Williams and Meryl Streep. This is one of those films that a lot of people don't mention, from Spielberg, but should mention because it's so fantastic and so ahead of its time, and it still holds up today, and it's just such a treat. The next movie up is Columbus, which is the feature film debut from Coconada, and this focuses on a young woman played by Haley Lou Richardson and a man probably in his 30s played by John Cho, and they're both trying to discover who they are. They're both searching for something. Haley Lou Richardson's character wants to be an architect, but she's stuck in a small town, while John Cho's character is dealing with the fact that his father might die, but also the fact that he didn't really have a strong relationship with his father, and he's not really feeling any kind of sorrow over his father's possibly impending death. It's a very interesting character study. The film is gorgeously shot. It's not going to be for everyone, but I thought it was a wonderful slice of life film. Where'd my phone go? I always lose my phone. Sorry, I had to post the review about the movie I hated on Letterboxd, which, by the way, I review every movie I watch now on Letterboxd, so follow me there. Also, wine time. And the last movie I want to mention is Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I bet that was horrible, but anyway, who cares? Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was just such a ray of sunshine. It just comforted me so much. I loved hearing all the ABBA songs. Lily James is effervescent in this, and of course Amanda Seyfried and Dominic Cooper are great in this, even though their roles have been diminished. This is a very feel-good movie. It's not like a masterpiece by any means, but it did garner 5 out of 5 stars for me because it made me feel so good and it made me feel nostalgic about my performing days, and I just loved it. Now for TV, I have to mention the latest season of Doctor Who because I am in love with Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. I think Chris Chibnall is a fantastic showrunner, and so far all of the episodes have been really strong. I love the emphasis on change in this series. I like the fact that there are no longer companions, but rather friends, and that there are 3 of them. I think they all mesh well together while adding diversity. And speaking of diversity, this series has so much going for it. And I love how they have delved into history, how they have gone into the Monster of the Week format, how they have changed each episode, but it still feels like Doctor Who, and I think it's an amazing accomplishment by BBC. I think Jodie Whittaker is refreshing as the Doctor. Again, I think Chris Chibnall was the perfect choice to replace Stephen Moffat. I am loving this season of Doctor Who. And also, I really love The Haunting of Hill House. The Haunting of Hill House is based off the novel of the same name by Shirley Jackson, but I actually like this TV series better than the novel. All the actors did a phenomenal job portraying the Crane family. This series is genuinely spooky, and I like the storyline. The storyline is so well written for a horror series, and it's just something that I don't think can be topped in any time soon, because it's just so powerful. Now lastly, I want to talk about the games I loved in October. First up is Forza Horizon 4. I never expected to have a racing game in my favorites video, but Forza Horizon 4 is so much fun. You don't just race in this game, you also smash billboards, you buy houses and businesses, you do races that correlate to other games such as Halo and others I won't spoil. There's an awesome soundtrack in this game. I love that there are the 4 seasons and you have to drive through each season, and that impacts what vehicles you have to use and how your driving and handling perform, and it's just such a really fleshed out game. It's so much fun. It's kind of like an RPG, but a racing game. And if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play this for technically free, so I highly recommend you download it if you have Game Pass. But even if you don't, buy it. It's such a fantastic game. I've also loved Marvel's Spider-Man. It's so much fun just to whip throughout the city of New York and to interact with all the characters from the Spider-Man comic books, to see them in all their glory, to unlock all Spider-Man suits, to do all the various side missions, to follow the main storyline. It's just so well done. It's the best Spider-Man game that has ever been released in my opinion. And I love Yuri Lowenthal as the voice of Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and I cannot wait to play the DLC when I get a chance to. And the last thing I want to mention is Red Dead Redemption 2. I have been so in love with this game, and I've heard so many people complain about the pace of it. really, to me, it's only the first couple of hours that are slow, and after that the world starts to open up. There are things to do like bounty hunter missions, hunting missions. You can go and find these notorious killers. You can upgrade your camp. You can bond with your horse. You can do so much in this game, and it's so beautiful. Everything is realistic, unless there's a glitch, then it's not realistic. But I really haven't come across any glitches besides one. I have loved this game. The voice acting is top notch. I am so balls deep inside of Red Dead Redemption 2 that it's crazy. It's got me hooked, and I just want to play it all the time. It invades my dreams. I want to play it so much. It's that good to me. So those are my October 2018 favorites with wine. If you enjoyed this video and my goofiness, click the like button and make sure to share it because that helps my channel grow. Let me know what your favorites were in the comment box down below. And if you're new here but you like what you've seen and heard, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you'll always be alerted whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to follow me on any social media sites, check out my blog or letterboxd for book and movie reviews. All those are linked in the description box down below the video. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You're always my favorites. Peace and kisses. Bye.